Hello there. Welcome to Book Talk. This is your host, Anthony Muirore. And as always, at Book Talk, we get to have an author come and tell us about his book or her book. And today is a high day. We have a guest all the way from Los Angeles, California, whose name is Leonard Buschel. I'm going to introduce him into the show and be prepared to get high in a way. And without taking more time, let me welcome Leonard to the show. Hi.
Hello, Anthony. Thank you so much for this invitation. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, you're welcome. And we are happy to have you here. And we are dealing with an interesting topic. The title of your book, High, Confessions of a Cannabis Addict.
Yes.
Interesting. Now we are ready to find out the in and outs, the ups and downs, and we have you to tell us here, and we are happy.
Well,
So,
thank you very much.
yes, you are in Los Angeles, California. I'm in Athens, Greece here, and uh, let's start here. Where and when were you born? Before we go into the book.
I was born in the middle of the 20th century
Mm-hmm.
in a city called Philadelphia, Pennsylvania,
Okay.
one of the original 13 colonies of one of the older cities in 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 America. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, compared to any place in the Middle East or Europe, it's a young city. It's only 230 years old. So Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, it's 90 miles south of New York City, and it's about 150 miles north of Washington, D.C. So it's considered, it's a very urban metropolitan area
Okay. Oh.
where you'll probably know best from the movie Rocky.
Yeah. Rocky shows it explicitly, and yeah,
Mhm.
we so now let's get to go into. We won't wait much, and let's go into the book and take us into the book in a way that you want, that you like.
Well, first, let me show the audience the cover.
Okay, hi.
Uh, that's
Yeah, he's a beautiful. That's
that
that,
that's
that's a handsome young man.
it's not a mug shot. People think it's a mug shot. It's
Okay,
not.
okay,
Uh, it was actually right before I took it to get an international driver's license because I was
okay,
going to the Middle East, and on my way I passed through Greece as well.
okay.
I was on a train from ultimately from Cologne, Germany to Athens.
Uh-huh.
I was taking a ship from Piraeus to Haifa uh,
Okay,
in Israel. So I got a chance to see your beautiful country.
okay.
Uh, I remember one of the highlights of my life. I was in on the train, and when we pulled into Salonika
Yeah.
up north,
Uh-huh.
um, there were vendors on the platform of the train, and my compartment mate, who I was just starting to get friendly with, bought me a Turkish coffee and a shishlik
Okay.
out the window. And it
Mm-hmm.
was the best coffee I'd ever had. It was the best shishlik I ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like it was yesterday. In fact, every time I have a Turkish coffee, which is not as often as I would like, it reminds me of that trip and that time. And then eventually I got down to Athens. And in fact, let me show, because you're there only, the book is full of photographs.
Okay.
This is me
Mm.
um, at the Parthenon,
Okay.
all alone. I waited till the very end. They had to kick me out. The guards had to come and get me
Oh,
because I wanted
yeah.
to get photographs without tourists.
Okay.
So I waited till the end of the day, and there I am alone. Anyway, what a wonderful weekend, and what a
Mm.
beautiful city. I can't tell you how wonderful it was.
So
So
you didn't get to eat a souvlaki?
I didn't get these. No. Well, yes, I got everything that I could buy on the street. I got.
Okay.
So I'm sure they're selling souvlaki on the street.
And about
And
which year are you talking about?
pardon me?
About which year are you talking
What year?
about?
I'm talking about 1970.
1970. Oh,
1970. Yes.
I wasn't born.
No, very few
Okay.
people were born.
Hmm.
1970. I was 20 years old.
Okay.
So I ended up celebrating my 21st birthday in the Holy Land.
Ah, okay.
I was on my way there because back in Philadelphia and New York City, there was a shortage of hashish.
Mm.
No one had any hashish, and at the time, being a up and coming cannabis addict,
Mm-hmm.
I needed to have some. I needed to get some. And
Okay.
even though I had enrolled in college, I thought it was more important to go get some red Lebanese hash because that's what made me feel whole and complete. And
Mm-hmm.
since there wasn't any, uh, I went to Israel because
Oh,
I knew
now,
it's just south of Lebanon, and I assumed there would be some camel caravans bringing in the hashish, and I was right. So it was a very excellent adventure, if you will, mainly because bringing it back into the United States, I didn't get arrested.
mm-hmm.
So it was a little risky at the time, but I didn't think I had a choice because that's how great my passion was for red Lebanese hash or any hash. But like I said, there was a shortage in Philadelphia and New York. You couldn't get any, so I had to go get my own.
Now, this is interesting, and please take us slowly here. You're coming from Los Angeles to all the way to Israel to get high.
At the time, I was living in Philadelphia,
Ah, in
which is
Philadelphia, sorry,
3,000
in
miles
Philadelphia.
closer, but it's still a long way.
Yes, in
So
Philadelphia.
yes, I was coming from the States. Uh-huh.
Okay, from the States to go to Israel to get high.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you talk about having registered to college. So it means you were just as young as maybe not even in your 20s. I
Right.
mean, yeah, oh, you told us, sorry, I missed that. You told us your 21st birthday you celebrated in Israel. Okay.
Yes.
Now, how did you get to fund this trip all the way from the United States into Israel?
I'm sorry. How did I get the what?
To fund it, where did you get the finances to go all that long, all that far? The finance.
The finances.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that much money at the time.
Oh,
There were a
okay.
lot of great. Um, some airlines had literally $200 round trip fares. It was a crazy wonderful time. It wasn't that expensive, and traveling by train wasn't expensive. In fact, I was on the train because I couldn't afford a flight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I was a gambler, and I guess I saved up some of my gambling money to go, or I sold some personal possessions to get the money to go.
Yeah,
It
but at
wasn't
this
that big of a financial outlay.
but at this time you are living with your parents yet.
I was living with my mother at the time. My
Okay.
father died when I was 3 weeks old.
Oh, sorry.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
so I was living with my mother at the time,
Uh-huh.
and I had various jobs along the way.
Okay.
Even in high school,
Yeah.
I had after school jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and I had also been dealing drugs.
Okay. Now tell us how it got, tell us how it started. And there's a reason I'm asking this. I mean, the purpose of doing our shows is not only to entertain. Yeah, sometimes you get entertained, but sometimes it's to educate. So, and it's important even for parents who are watching or listening to this show to have an idea how things started. So this is the reason I'm asking, how did it all start? I mean, you told us you went all the way to Israel, but What was the first step that took you to 1,000 miles?
Mm, mm. It was a passion to feel the effects of cannabis THC, the drug that's in marijuana hashish, very
Mm-hmm.
similar.
Okay.
So I'm sure you know that um, marijuana here in the United States is virtually legalized now. I could
Okay.
buy it on every other corner in Los Angeles. At the time, it was
Mm-hmm.
illegal, which was insane.
Okay.
Uh, and if you've never smoked marijuana,
Uh-huh.
maybe you shouldn't even try it because you might love it so much you won't be able to think about anything else. And I guess that's what's happened to me. Uh,
Okay.
Probably when I was 17,
Mm-hmm.
it was a thing. It was something you did secretly.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in New York visiting a cousin,
Mm-hmm.
and he asked me if I wanted to try some.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, of course. And I did. And it sort of turned my life from black and white to color. I didn't know I probably suffered from a mild form of, depression at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I had no father. Uh, I have a beautiful brother who had been sent away to boarding school. So I was a sort of a lonely child.
Mm-hmm.
And when I smoked that first hit of marijuana, it, as I said, my life went from black and white to color.
Okay.
And who wouldn't prefer living a life in color than black and white? So
Mm.
it became a habit. It became something I like to do once a day. And
Okay.
in fact, I did it every day for 26 years.
Okay.
Uh, Once I started, I did not want to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And it was only by naively, like a fool, I went to a rehab for 28 days because I thought I was having a nervous breakdown.
Okay.
Because I had been abusing a drug called ecstasy,
Mm-hmm.
also known as MDMA, also known as Molly, and it was messing with me, and
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't stop shaking. And I drove to a 28-day rehab just to for R&R, rest and relaxation. And I
Mm-hmm.
also thought at the time that I was about to be arrested. I
Okay.
won't go into the details, but I'm not being paranoid because I
Mm-hmm.
had been a drug dealer for over 20 years, and a situation was happening, and I thought maybe they were going to come get me, so I figured I better be in a rehab. It'll look good in front of the judge.
Mm-hmm.
That fortunately didn't happen, and I realized after 28 days of being there that I didn't use pot once. Uh, and I thought, my God, that's a miracle. I can't believe I went 28 days without getting high or trying to escape from the rehab
Mm-hmm.
to go get some. And I thought, wow, I never thought I could or would stop using drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And yet there I had gone 28 days without it. And I thought, let me see what it's like to continue this, 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 uh, this pattern or this a fad. I thought it was a fad. I thought not using drugs was like a fad,
Mm-hmm.
like a fashion, like, oh, not using drugs.
Mm-hmm.
But little by little, I realized that it was an absolutely holy, blessed way to live.
Mm-hmm.
It's an incredible experience because you never come down.
Mm-hmm.
With drugs of any kind, there's a crash. You come down, they wear off.
Yeah.
This never wears off. This
Mm-hmm.
is really the ultimate buzz
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't stop. I think it was uh, Timothy Leary said, the point is not to get high, but to be high.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a fascinating, challenging way to live. I haven't had a drink or a drug in 27 years, maybe
Mm-hmm.
as long as you've been on the planet. I don't know
Yeah.
how old you are, and I'm not going to ask,
Uh-huh.
uh, but it's been quite a long time. But I had 45 years of getting, I had 20 years of, anyway, it's a fantastic lifestyle, not
Mm-hmm.
using drugs or drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I would also say drinking and using drugs is also a fabulous way to live, as long as you don't think you're going to kill yourself or anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I mean, the point of life is to love, but most people are just trying to stay out of pain. And
Mm-hmm.
there is so much pain in the world that I understand how to do anything to avoid pain is a survival instinct.
Mm-hmm.
Avoid hunger, avoid pain, avoid violence, uh, but not if you have to avoid yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I think drugs and alcohol is a way of avoiding yourself. And what's more interesting than you? You're the most interesting thing going on. There's a
Mm-hmm.
great uh, Canadian Jungian psychologist named Marion Woodman.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her, I was with her at a workshop, and I said, "What's the secret to staying clean and sober?"
Mm-hmm.
She said, "To constantly get to know yourself better, by
Okay.
constantly going within to find out who you are, what makes you tick, and how much more fascinating you are on the natch, meaning naturally, without drugs and alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Continue that inward journey because there's so much going on inside your soul, inside your mind, inside your body.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the amount of chemical equations, reactions going on in my body right now is like millions, if not more than millions.
Yeah.
And somehow uh, it all works perfectly. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the Earth is exactly the right distance from the sun for us all to be alive, to
Okay.
not to be burnt to a crisp if the planet gets too close, not to be too far away where we'd all freeze together. You
Yeah.
know, there's such perfection in the world that I was trying to manipulate God, if you will,
Yeah.
the ultimate reality.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and growing up, being a young person, it's amazing anybody gets into adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
With the dangers of childhood, of
Mm-hmm.
having to be taken care of. I mean, I don't know how many species there are on Earth that are so helpless when they're born. They're
Mm-hmm.
so helpless. They need a mother.
Mm-hmm.
They need warmth. They need food. A lot of other animals, they plop out and they start running in the fields.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be taken care of. And then if that goes wrong, we're going to end up a little bit distorted in some way.
Yeah.
So to even get through childhood, to get through school, and to become an adult where you can function and you can work and you can make love and you can prepare dinner and you can drive a car,
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing that the world is doing as well as it's doing, and we know how incredibly not well it's doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, every day now, I'm sure the newspapers in Europe are the same. Will there be a war? Will there be a war in the Ukraine? Will Russian tanks? They still have tanks. It's so weird to see. It's like you're watching, you know, a Hollywood movie. There's tanks and fighter planes, and people still think that violence and power is how to behave.
Mm-hmm.
These people are fucking insane. Insane.
Mm-hmm.
Insane that to them, death is just a byproduct of power and war and wealth. And it really is disheartening to see, but yet it is as real as a couple walking in the park holding hands being in love. It's as natural to
Yeah.
some people. War. I remember when I had I was in the Vondel Park in Amsterdam many years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I was sick. It was a Vondel Park sort of hospice, and I was there for a couple of days. And the only book I had with me was H.G. Wells' History of the World.
Okay.
I loved H.G. Wells, science fiction writer,
Mm-hmm.
along with Jules Verne. I loved them both growing up. I read all their books. But here I found a new book by H.G. Wells. And I thought, oh, maybe some science fiction, but it was the history of the world. And
Mm-hmm.
what it was, a history of, was civilizations one war to another,
Okay.
from war to war to war. And that's what history is about. It's not a, and I guess it goes back to the, what, the Bible.
Yeah.
A lot of violence there. And maybe that's just the way of the world, and pacifists and peaceniks.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we're the crazy ones. Maybe we're the ones who don't think guns should be in every home in America. I know
Mm-hmm.
a couple European countries have declared certain states, or maybe the city of Chicago, as a dangerous zone when they come to visit the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have to be on guard.
Yeah.
Uh, there's, but on the other hand, we
Mm-hmm.
make great movies. We have produced fabulous music.
Yeah.
Uh, there are places in this country that look like the Garden of Eden.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's trees and woods and bald eagles. Maybe that's a good metaphor.
Yeah.
Our national bird, the bald eagle, was almost extinct, and
Mm-hmm.
now there's more than ever because
And
some people actually try to get together and tell people stop hurting them, and they're magnificent. Um, so people, when they come around to working together,
yeah.
can do anything. And I don't know what your take on technology is. You must love technology because I'm in Los Angeles and you're in Athens, Greece, and we're talking
Yes.
to each other like
Mm-hmm.
brothers, like we're together, like we're in the same room. There's
Yeah.
not even a delay.
Mm-hmm.
We're not using a telegraph where we have to wait. Or remember when you had to make a phone call to Europe and it was like $25 a minute,
Yeah.
and now it's nothing as long as you have a smartphone
Yeah.
and the WhatsApp app and Facebook FaceTime.
Yeah,
It,
yeah, and I'm glad that we are sober to enjoy all the beauty of the world, what God created, and we are sober even to appreciate where we have come, how
mm,
far we've gone in technology. Is good. Is good. Is a way. Is a state of being that you talk of, where we are able to enjoy the life around us, not high. It's the best high this
not
way.
high. And especially in the last 2 years,
Mhm.
where you had to be really careful with your immune system
Mhm.
and your mood,
Mhm.
and being shut down in isolation
Yeah.
and having to wear masks
Yeah.
in Los Angeles. You can't go in anywhere without wearing a mask.
Mhm.
Uh, you have to be really fairly emotionally well balanced to be able to deal with that.
Yeah.
Uh, and I guess part of it is knowing this is not forever.
Yeah.
We don't think. We
Mhm.
didn't think it was going to be a full 2 years. The
Yeah. Yeah.
first
Yeah.
month or two, oh,
Mhm.
couple months. By winter it'll be over. By summer it'll be over, and it hasn't been over. And I don't know what it's like in other countries that don't have the amount of uh, vaccinated people as America does.
Mhm.
Um,
We do.
but hopefully, one would think, and that's why this war with Russia is so insane, that you would think that the whole globe, every man and woman, was facing a dilemma,
Mhm.
was facing a common. I don't want to call it an enemy, a common challenge to not get sick and die.
Mm,
And, growing up, I always thought, oh, some citizens will come together when we're attacked from outer space. When the aliens arrive, we'll all realize we are Earthlings, and
mm,
we as Earthlings have to, whatever, to protect ourselves. And I thought that it would come from outside, but now it was an attack, so to speak. I guess if viruses attack, I don't know if they do, if that's the right term,
yeah.
but the whole world, you would think, had a common goal, which was to heal
Mm,
and not get sick.
yeah.
And the amount of people working in hospitals, suddenly there's a whole new category of angels,
Mm,
and they're called nurses,
mm-hmm.
and they're doctors, and they're delivery men.
Yeah.
The people who have kept us literally okay
Mm,
through all this, even with the 100,000 deaths in America, it could have been worse. It could have been
yeah.
not as bad also,
Mm, mm-hmm.
but I won't get political. But the world is still functioning.
Mm,
And to Americans, I wasn't going to say, we just had the Super Bowl, the
mm,
big celebration once a year in America. Uh, it was 70,000 people, and it was in Los Angeles.
mm,
And it's a good sign. It's a good sign that maybe the pandemic is becoming an endemic.
yeah.
Maybe it's starting to dissipate. We're
Yeah.
hoping
Mm-hmm.
some of the restrictions are going away. But
Yeah.
the nurses who've had to wear 3 masks to not get infected are just, and they don't make as much as shitheads on Wall Street, or and teachers. Teachers are very poorly paid in America, and they've been also putting basically their lives on the line.
Yeah.
Uh,
Co-
and
coming back to your book.
my book,
When did
and
you
it's
write your
all
book?
in here. No,
When?
I'm saying it's a
Yeah.
very funny book. It's not as serious as I am.
Okay.
It's a very funny book.
Yeah.
I'm not a funny person, but I do say funny things, and I write
Yes.
very funny. And
Mm-hmm.
this is a really funny book. I wish I
Yeah.
could had time to read some, but I know it's already that I went on and on and on. I'm looking at it on my watch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Uh, hi. Let me read some chapter titles.
Okay.
Anthony, would you mind?
Yes,
These
you
are
can
some
read.
chapter titles.
Yeah, read them.
First title is Grief Like a Torn Dress Should Be Left at Home.
Mm-hmm.
2. The Starting Gate. 3. Let's Make a Deal. 4. Fortune will always come to a house with laughter.
Mm-hmm.
5. Do everything you can and don't get caught. 6. Picture this FBI close call. I had a very close call with the FBI. It's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. 7. He who strongly desires to move up will think of a way to build a ladder.
Mm-hmm.
8. Always make way for fools and madmen, kids and moms. 9. London Calling. It was my first trip to London. Okay. Chapter 10. Oh, Mama, can this really be the end? And end is capitalized because it's a really interesting telling of the time I died and the hospital and the respirators kept me alive. I was kept
Mm-hmm.
alive by machines,
Okay.
and it was one of the most horrible experiences of my life. It was a drug and alcohol induced episode. The doctors at the hospital, I got there at 6 in the morning with an ambulance,
Mm-hmm.
and the doctor said, if it had been 7 in the morning, you would have died in traffic. But because it was 6 in the morning, the ambulance was able to get there without stopping.
Mm-hmm.
And and the experience of almost dying was truly horrendous. One of the worst experiences I've ever had. I'm
Mm.
looking for the picture of me in the hospital, but let's go back to the chapters. I'll find it.
Okay.
Uh, Chapter 11, Lost Weekend. Yes, it's the name of a great film, but it's also something alcoholics experience.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 12, Blackmail, Paris, The Doors, and Miles Davis. Chapter 14, The Young and the Restless. Chapter 15, anybody from Motown will recognize this one. Chapter 15, Temptations, My Girl, Ain't Too Proud to Beg.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 16, A Lot Happens Quickly. 17, Second Breath, about my lifelong experiences with asthma.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 18, Two Eyes to See, One to Hear. I had I had a brain tumor that had to be removed from this side of my head, and I lost all my hearing from my left side.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I don't hear in stereo anymore. Everything is monaural.
Wow.
Chapter 19, I'm sorry. Addiction is not a disease, it's an addiction. 20, Keeping It Real, ready for my close up. And the last chapter is called Betty Ford Died Sober, I Should Be So Lucky. Because I went to the Betty Ford Center for my 28-day rest and relaxation. And it was very resting and it was very relaxing. And if anybody's having a problem drinking too much or drugging too much, I think the first best step solution is a 28-day hiatus. It would have been impossible for me to quit everything at home. So I
Mm.
had to be away for 28 days. It's not locked. You can leave anytime. You get to learn a little bit about yourself and why basically you're trying to kill yourself or
Mm.
why you have habits that can kill you. Here's a picture of me on the respirator in the hospital. Uh,
Mm.
Caption is Death Takes a Holiday because I didn't die, but I was really, really close. I
Yeah.
was so close. It scares me to this day how close and how much. And I think that's something that a lot of people who are clean and sober or who are abstinents or don't use drugs and alcohol anymore, I think a lot of what we all had in common was we came close to the edge. We
Yeah.
came close to the precipice of
Mm-hmm.
not being alive in this body at this time, but we
Mm-hmm.
all are, and it's like time to party.
Mm-hmm.
Every day is like a party.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I said, the Earth is the perfect distance from the sun. Who
Yeah.
planned that? How did that happen? I
That's
know that.
also good.
Yeah, and Athens. I think you guys came up with something called democracy.
Yeah, it's
Is
where
that one
they.
of your
No,
little?
I'm not originally from Athens. I'm from Kenya, but Athens they did it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for that idea. You
Yeah.
know, it's still America is still a democracy, no matter no matter what the facts are.
And this
I
is
think it's
there's
I think
something I
it's a
want us to
democracy.
understand here. There's something I want you to help us with here.
Please
Now
tell
you
me
say
then.
you mentioned that about the things that you talked that I thought were outside of the book, but you say they are all in the book. How do all that you speak about correlate with your confessions? You talk of politics, you talk of uh, other things and technology, and how do they correlate with the confessions? Because I think you said they do.
First, let me say that anybody can write a memoir.
Mm-hmm.
It's all it takes is courage and time and uh, and a desire to not let your life go undocumented.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I originally one of my inspirations for writing the book was I have two sons,
Okay.
and I wanted them to have a record of who I really am and who I was and who I am
Okay.
and today.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a um, and I have another interesting habit. Every night before I go to sleep, I write in a journal.
Mm.
Every night for the last 25 years, what I did that day,
Mm-hmm.
who I hung out with that day, if I saw a movie, what movie I saw, what
Mm-hmm.
play did I see. And it's all written down. I have a bookshelf of this many journals.
Okay.
And I do it because I need to have proof that I lived, that I
Yes.
lived yesterday. I can read about what I did.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if I was a painter and I painted a picture, I wouldn't have to do the journal. Maybe
Okay.
if I was a sculptor and sculpted something that you could look at and touch and feel, I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have to keep a journal. Maybe
Okay.
if I wrote a poem every day,
Mm-hmm.
I could look back and say, "Oh, look, I wrote a poem that day."
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's just proof of my existence on the planet at this time, because it's not going to last forever.
Yeah.
But at least for now, it's something that I do to remind me that I had a day.
Mm.
And you know, because you can get so caught up in responsibilities and work and living and other people that you forget that you're here. You're like the main character. You're the star
Mm.
of your movie. And
Mm-hmm.
this and I write down, every day something about that day.
Mm.
And so as far as the book is concerned, everybody, it just takes time. It took me 10 years. Just writing down every memory, good
Mm.
and bad,
Yeah.
and then weaving them into, a coherent, if not chronologically direct, because that's boring,
Okay.
but just weaving that into a tapestry, which everyone's life really is. You don't maybe can't see it till you're older, how
Yeah.
everything that ever happened, I'm not saying it happened for a reason, but it happens to make you who you are. You're like a
Mm-hmm.
coat that's been woven
Mm-hmm.
over your whole lifetime. And I can read about it, and you
Yeah.
can read about it, and you can read
Yeah.
it your own, and you can read mine. I love reading biographies now and memoirs and autobiographies because I'm a big fan of humanity.
Okay.
Humans are so fascinating to me, and not just the Picassos and the Da Vinci's, but everybody.
Mm.
Everybody has the same something. We're all made out of the same essence, if you
Mm.
will,
Yeah.
and a lot of us just express it differently.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't born with any particular talent. I can't sing at all. I've taken lessons, musical instruments. I have no sense of music other than I know what I like and I love great music. And I
Yeah.
like the music you played at the beginning of the program.
Mm.
And I'm sure you play music at the end too, right?
I will now because you say so.
Okay. Uh, so, what can I say? You asked me a question. Do you think I remembered what it was? I smoked pot every day for 26 years. My linear thinking is not as good as it could be.
Yeah.
So, I know you asked me something about how is it all in the book? Words. Words are amazing. I love the English language, and I know French is beautiful. And I wish I had an English accent because that sounds very dignified, unless I guess you're from Liverpool or somewhere. Uh, but everybody should write something every day. You
Yeah,
know,
that's good, and you're
there's,
agreeing with
there's
an
there
idea
are
that we have
there are
given.
poems in here. There are some great quotes in here. Like I
Mm,
said, a lot of great photos. None of the sex has been photographed, but there's a lot of sexy stories in here. Trust me, when you have money and you have drugs and you have alcohol and risky behavior is not above you or beneath you, it can get very interesting.
and
So,
one thing that we are grateful for is that God kept you and brought you up to this point when you can appreciate His greatness, His beauty, and the beauty of the world, and are able to comprehend the technology that you are using. So we are very grateful to have you here to tell us what went on back then so that we can know how we are going to go forward from here with the guide
I'm
of
on
God.
Facebook. The
You are
book
on,
is available on Amazon.
okay.
I know it's available in the UK, obviously in the States. Uh, Facebook is
Yeah.
sort of something that I think is both a miracle and the devil, but I try and use it as a miraculous invention.
Okay.
Uh, so Facebook, Leonard Buschel,
Yeah.
not hard to find. I'm not in hiding. It's
Mm-hmm.
funny on my license on my car,
Okay.
it's my last name.
Okay.
And when I told my mother when she was alive, God bless her soul,
Yeah.
uh, I said, "Ma, my license is Buschel." And she said, "Why would you put your name on your license?" And I said, "Because I'm not driving away from the scene of a crime wherever I go. Because as a drug dealer for 23 years, I was breaking the law every single day of my life. So of course I had the most complicated driver's car license, on the back of the car.
Yeah.
So now it's my name. Because I ain't afraid of
Okay.
going to jail.
Yeah.
Because the statute of limitations is up, motherfucker. So thank you, Anthony. I hope this made some sense to
Yes.
at least 10,000 of your viewers. And the art. What can I say? You're great. This is awesome. Books are at the top of my gratitude list.
Okay.
And when you're in clean and sober, oftentimes you're supposed to make a gratitude list, things that you're grateful for. So of course, family and health comes first,
Yeah.
and then there's books, and then there's books, because they can take you away and they can teach you and entertain you. They're just amazing, and I think this will do that for some people. I think people will read this and put it down and say, "Oh, that's really interesting. I laughed a lot. I learned a couple things, uh, and uh, it was like I said. It took me 10 years, but you wouldn't know it from reading it. You would think I just sat down and wrote it because
Mm.
it's so. It reads like a page turner. It really
Mm.
does.
Yeah. So
So
we are really really grateful for you, Leonard Buschel, coming onto our show, and we also want to thank all the viewers and all those listeners who have been listening and those who will listen on the podcast platforms. Search for Book Talk at Book Place, and I believe that you have picked something from this episode even as you go and pick the book that Leonard has done for us. So once again, we are really appreciative of what you've done, Leonard, and we are glad that you are here to tell us and to show us. Thank you very much.
thank you, Anthony. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
and out of your request, here goes the music. Bye, everyone. Here goes the music. Bye-bye.
Next time, play some King Sunny Ade.